Going live here. I am alive. It's 1:17 in the morning. This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and I'm going to do my weekly review of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. The big story in this week's Observer was regarding the Jim Cornette situation with the NWA, where he made some comments that I guess he's made before, but now we live in a different time. Some people found them offensive. I guess the person who edits the NWA show is David Lagana, who I don't know actually much about him, but he issued an apology on behalf of the NWA for the remarks Jim Cornette made. And I guess he missed the saying in the editing. So the reason why Jim Cornette was fired, I guess, or forced to resign, or he chose to resign, was because he wouldn't apologize for what he said, from what I understand from reading this Wrestling Observer. So I'll cut the NWA some slack on that. I realize that the people that own the NWA, Billy Corgan's a multimillionaire. He has to be really careful with what's said on his broadcast. I did see the advertising they did for this kayfabe, like date rape type drug. I don't know if it was this week's episode, but I saw it on Twitter, and I did find that controversial. I'm not so sure about these joke advertisements, but the kayfabe date rape stuff is a little strange, considering some wrestlers have been accused of doing that kind of stuff over the years. And that's definitely something that's a really low thing in the industry, if it did in fact happen. I don't know if any wrestler's ever been convicted of putting a roofie in a girl's drink, but we had Hillbilly Jim tell me a story in my shoot interview last week that's out there about Dynamite Kid doing it to Outback Jack. And Bruce Hart's told me about Dynamite Kid doing that to people in Stampede. It was definitely more acceptable for whatever reason in the wrestling industry in the 80s to roofie somebody's drink. But anyways, so yeah, I'm going to leave this whole NWA thing alone. I don't like Nick Aldis, by the way, for the people that had issues with me. That's my opinion. If you like a wrestler, I don't care. But yeah, the NWA is also creating a web series called The Squared Circle, which is going to be like a show similar to Dana White's Contenders show or the Gut Check show in TNA. And I do have confirmation the Great North Wrestling star, the Blood Hunter, has apparently applied for this NWA Squared Circle show. So I suggest to any of you Great North Wrestling fans out there that want to see the Blood Hunter on this NWA Squared Circle show, tweet at NWA about that, or at this David Lagana or Billy Corgan, because I know for a fact that I personally have tried to get Nick Aldis to wrestle in Great North Wrestling, and NWA never responded to me about that. So it looks like there might be some fear of the NWA to have their wrestlers go against Great North Wrestling stars because maybe we're tougher. So I would suggest tweet to them if you guys want to see the Blood Hunter on this NWA Contenders series. In WWE news, Kurt Angle did a Facebook chat where he said he never once turned down a WWE storyline, but the one he hated was the one he had to do where he was having an obsession with Charmel, the wife of Booker T, who I know Booker T watches this channel sometimes, and he's done a couple interviews for this channel, and I'm a big supporter of his and have a lot of respect for him. I guess, according to Dave Meltzer, that angle was a rib on Angle because I guess Kurt Angle behind the scenes had a reputation for liking African Americans. So I guess we always hear about these rib things. Like Bruce Hart told me once that at SummerSlam 94, I believe it was, with the cage match when they had Doink throw a bucket of water on him. Supposedly, some people had pissed in it from the WWE office, and that was kind of a funny rib. According to Bruce Hart, that's what allegedly happened. What's up, the Witchmaster? Ricky Pax, what's my beef with Shamrock? I have no beef with him. Nevern's numbers, who's my dream interview? I've said it. Let me hold on a second. This man here, Jesse Ventura, is my dream interview. I want to get him to sign this record that I have of him. But unfortunately, he's 5,000 for 1 hour, 10,000 for 2 hours. So if anyone wants to help me with that, please subscribe to Patreon. And Rational Pregamist just donated $2 to me. So thank you. That's $2 towards Jesse Ventura's interview. This weekend, by the way, I'm driving to Philadelphia tomorrow. I might be having a shoot interview with Shane Douglas late tomorrow night. If it doesn't work out for tomorrow night, we're hopefully going to get it sometime this weekend. I'll be attending the Icons of Wrestling convention Saturday, hopefully getting a bunch of short interviews. You can check out the interviews I did in Albany last week, including Enzo and a guy I interviewed actually in Albany was the Road Dogg, Jesse James, who's a writer for Next. And it's interesting because he told me that NXT would not be hot-shotting their show with a bunch of main roster stars in order to beat AEW and end the streak. But that's exactly what they did this week. So maybe he listened to my suggestion to at least break the momentum. Rio Lab says, any news on AEW getting bigger guys? Not that I have heard of. And somebody commented, actually, I posted a picture of Billy Gunn standing next to Orange Cassidy, and he looked like a giant. And Billy Gunn is like 6'2", maybe 250. So that just goes to show you that Orange Cassidy is one of their average size guys. Shawn Scott says, I have to start watching AEW. NWA is going to suck. Well, tweet NWA to let the Blood Hunter into their Contenders series. Because if I was a betting man, I would say the Blood Hunter could beat Nick Aldis and take the NWA world title and really make the NWA into a legitimate promotion. So in NXT attendance results, I'm going to go into the attendance now. There's a note in the Observer saying NXT is planning to cut back on house shows for 2020 because attendance has been down significantly in the past year. And these attendance results indicate that as well. November 7th in Ocala, Florida, they had 300 fans. November 8th in Tampa, Florida, NXT again had 150 fans. November 9th in Augustine, Florida, 200 fans. November 15th over in the UK for the NXT UK taping in Hull, UK, they had 650 fans. November 15th in Citrus Springs, Florida, the same night, they had 175 fans. November 16th for the NXT taping back in Hull, UK, they had 850 fans. Again, on the 16th in Daytona Beach, Florida, they only had 190 fans. So obviously they're drawing more in the UK overall, even though I don't think they're doing house shows in the UK. And then, of course, this past Wednesday, they had 400 fans for the Full Sail tapings. Somebody says, I need an interview with Ken Patera, Billy Jack Haynes, and Don Morocco. Well, Ken Patera, I am going to get. That's a highly requested one. Billy Jack Haynes, I'm interviewing this weekend. On to the Smackdown attendance. There wasn't much for Smackdown this week. November 7th in Brighton, UK, they had 3,000 fans for a house show. For the taping last week in Philadelphia, they had a great crowd of 10,700 fans in Philadelphia. Then the following night in Washington, D.C., where AEW recently sold out, they had 3,400 fans. Skillful player says Billy Gunn is the biggest person in AEW. You know what? I believe that is true, because I believe that Jack Swagger might be a bit taller, but Billy Gunn might weigh more than Jack Swagger. It's a tie between Billy Gunn and Jack Swagger. But nice to see Billy Gunn on AEW. November 18th in Boston for the WWE Raw main event taping. They had 8,800 fans, so good crowd in Boston. Well, good crowd considering the crowd landscape now. In the old days, in the 80s, that would not be considered a good crowd. But 8,800 for the Raw main event tapings in Boston, which was more than AEW had for the AEW Dynamite tapings in Indianapolis. They had 4,227. So in the Raw versus AEW war, as far as attendance, Raw has now beaten them by 2 shows. So I think it's 6-4 now for Raw. In MLW news, the company has signed Jacob Fatu, who I believe is their champion. I interviewed him for the Hannibal TV, to a multi-year contract, as well as Joseph Samel, who's also known as the Sheik, who I have a full career interview with, who is wrestling on the big PCW Ultra show January 10th in Los Angeles, that I'll be covering, and I'll be interviewing probably Jacob Fatu there. Chris Masters is also on that card. Hopefully I'll get an interview with Chris Masters, Killer Cross, the Blood Hunter, Ricky Banderas, also known as Mil Morte, is on that card. So January 10th in LA, huge card, PCW Ultra. Have I heard of Notorious Chris Doyle and Handsome Harry Barnett? Ricky Pax asked me. No, I have not. Do I think Billy Gunn could have been WWE champion? That's a question I don't know, because the standards for WWE champion has gone down so much over the years. Could he have been WWE champion when The Rock and Austin were champion? He was not in the category of the Austin and Rocks, in my opinion, but he was part of the New Age Outlaws, which is a great team. And I was really happy to interview the Road Dogg last week. In Ring of Honor news, Kelly Klein, I guess, was told that Ring of Honor is breaking off all negotiations with her. According to her husband, BJ Whitner, she was informed of that by Joe Koff via email. Whitmer works for AEW backstage as a producer. He used to do that for ROH. Ring of Honor claimed that they didn't fire her, but they chose not to renew her contract. I guess she still has concussions syndromes. Her contract, my God, maybe it's getting too late for me tonight. Her contract expires December 31st. PCO's contract also expires December 1st. He's told me he hasn't renewed yet, even though he's getting a title shot December 18th. Jeff Cobb, Marty Scurll, Bandito, and Brody King's contract all expire soon too. Krilling876 was kind enough to donate $2 towards that Jesse Ventura interview for me. And he says, any update on Jose Canseco? Did I see him wrestle? He did not wrestle on that show in Oaklamania. Apparently they canceled that show. Oaklamania was canceled last minute. I can only assume they ran out of money. Did I see Canseco against Hong Man Choi? No, I didn't. If Hong Man Choi is the kickboxer guy from K1, I never heard of those two wrestling, but I'll look that up. Thank you for the donation. Jose Canseco, if you ever want to wrestle for Great North Wrestling, we would love to have you in Great North Wrestling, but I'm not sure if we could afford you. I don't know what your asking price is. Oaklamania obviously didn't have the money to pay you if they canceled the show. Shawn Scott says he thinks Jim Cornette should not have been let go. Eric Foster, do I think they will give the Rock and Roll Express one more NWA tag title? Are they not the NWA Tag Team Champions? I don't know. I thought they were. I haven't really watched it much. Do I think Marty Scurll will be champion soon in AEW? Apparently, he has a lot of friends there, but Ring of Honor does have the money to hold on to people if they want. So we'll see how much they want to keep Scurll, because they are a pretty rich company. In AEW news, they're billing their January 15th TV taping at the University of Miami as Bash at the Beach. I guess WWE did not renew their trademark on that name since it was part of WCW's intellectual property. So AEW has it now. I guess they were going to try and do a AEW taping at Club La Vela that WCW used to tape at for spring break nitros, but apparently the club is shut down right now. Shawn Scott says Rock and Roll Express won the NWA tag titles in October. So there's your answer, Eric Foster. They did win the titles. I'm not sure if it's aired yet. Mark Montoya says, would I ever wrestle Jeff Cobb? I'm not wrestling right now. I am focusing on interviews and the Great North Wrestling backstage running, making sure it runs smoothly, because we want Great North Wrestling. It's our 13th anniversary in 2020. We're actually going to have our 13th anniversary show August 8th at the Earl Armstrong Arena in Ottawa. So we're actually going to stream our February 29th show on my Devon Nicholson YouTube channel. Search it up, Devon Nicholson. It's going to be a separate YouTube channel where I'm only going to post full shoot interviews and live streams. I'm just switching it over. It used to be a personal YouTube channel, but I'm going to test out live streams there starting February 29th, where it's going to be Faces of Fear versus Too Cold Scorpio and the Blood Hunter in the main event. Lufitzo is going to be challenging Jessica Black for the Women's Championship of Canada on that card. There's only 18 front row tickets left for that event, so go to thehannibaltv.com and buy your tickets in advance if you want good seats. We're still over 3 months out. People for Great North Wrestling events usually mostly walk up, but I'm telling you, this is select seating. It's in the theater. Don't wait till the last minute. Mark Montoya says, interview Too Cold Scorpio. I have 2 full shoot interviews with Too Cold Scorpio on this channel. Search them up. But yes, we will be doing another interview with Scorpio, and someone else is going to interview Haku on that show because I didn't like the job Jeremy Prophet did. I mean, it wasn't a horrible job, but it could have been a lot better, the one that he did with Haku at the last Great North Wrestling event, where the Blood Hunter defeated Haku. That whole event, by the way, Great North Wrestling Apocalypse, it also features Davey Boy Smith Jr., Savio Vega, among other stars. Also Jessica Black eliminating Lady Yasmin from Great North Wrestling. That whole show is up on the Hannibal TV if you search up Great North Wrestling Apocalypse. In UFC news, Anthony Rumble Johnson is saying he's going to come back in June or July. The representatives of Clarissa Shields, who is the top women's boxer in the world, are trying to put a fight together between her and Amanda Nunes, or however you say it, next year. UFC returns to Auckland, New Zealand, with a show on February 23rd, local time. Tyrone Woodley was inducted into the University of Missouri Sports Hall of Fame on November 15th. The show in Sao Paulo, Brazil, of UFC on the weekend drew a sellout of 10,334 fans with no actual gate announced. It was the second largest attended event in Brazil, behind the Vitor Belfort and Dan Henderson 2015 fight. Someone says, how about a Bret Hart shoot? I've answered this a million times. If you want to see that, tweet to Bret Hart, do the Hannibal TV shoot interview. His brother Ross wanted to see it, asked him to do one. He said he didn't want to do one. What happened with Lady Yasmin's WWE tryout? Okay, I'm actually going to address this now because I'm highly disappointed in her. I actually personally recommended Lady Yasmin to get looked at by WWE back in May. They looked at her. She started wrestling Great North Wrestling a few years ago. She then had her first official tryout in August, which I guess she was invited to based off getting looked at the Montreal tapings in May. She didn't get a contract out of the tryout, so she quit wrestling. She's 22 or 23 years old, and she wants to take a break. She got a tryout after only wrestling 2 or 3 years, and then she quit. Women's wrestling is a young women's game. Unless you're established, you're not really going to have a job when you get older, like in your 30s, with a major company anyways, unless you were established when you were younger. In my opinion, she's making a really bad move, basically quitting. Great North Wrestling has really put a lot of effort into helping build Lady Yasmin over the years, so I was really disappointed that she's decided to quit wrestling. I had 14 WWE tryouts before WWE signed me back in 2009. So, and when I was signed, Pat Patterson, I was basically signed on Pat Patterson's recommendation. So if it hadn't been for, unfortunately, me being infected with hepatitis C and having my contract rescinded, who knows what could have happened. I was signed before Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. I was even signed before Daniel Bryan. So it could be a different landscape, but unfortunately, it took me years to get cured. I got cured in December 2013. A major company never took another chance on me after that, but I found another calling. I'm doing well at being a reporter, so this is my calling. So, but yeah, I guess Lady Yasmin didn't get the tryout. Neither did Max Testosterone. Neither did Santino Marella's daughter, Bianca. And that is a second generation star. But I personally talked to Santino in an interview that's up here, and he said she is not giving up, and she is actually going to hopefully get signed within the next year. So good luck to her. Got a lot of respect for her. Last question, and then I'm calling it a night. Or I'll answer one more because someone tipped me. Jake James says, how many current WWE wrestlers are on steroids? Well, from what I understand, okay, Ryback has said this, they do allow testosterone replacement therapy in WWE. So if you have a prescription for steroids, from what I understand, you're allowed to be on them because testosterone replacement therapy is steroids. Also, from what I understand, if you're not under a full-time contract, if you're under a part-time contract, you don't necessarily have to undergo the same testing that like an NXT development guy is going to undergo. So I can't tell you how many people are supplementing with testosterone replacement or what in WWE. I don't know, but it seems like they do allow testosterone replacement therapy. So thank you, Krilling876, for giving me a $5 tip here. Hannibal, any update on Ken Shamrock? Is dick grabbing really that much worse than Brian Cage doing intergender selling for girls? Here is the problem that I have with dick grabbing is wrestling is a job, and someone like me, say I worked for Impact, I would not want to be put into a situation where I have to be asked to grab somebody's dick or take a dick grab. And if I say no, have heat with the office. In porn, yes, you're getting into porn to play with other people's genitals, have your genitals touch, grab someone else's. In wrestling, way more. I wouldn't let my kids watch that. Is dick grabbing within Brian Cage selling for girls? I haven't seen it. I'm not a fan of intergender wrestling. I do know the most popular video on this channel is a 4 million view intergender match between Surf and Tina and Chaz. I believe if you're going to do intergender wrestling, it should be at least realistic. I mean, we did have Lady Yasmin wrestle a male when Jordynne Grace no-showed a Great North Wrestling event last year, but Lady Yasmin beat the guy and beat him easily, and I don't believe that guy would have beat her in a real fight, nor do I believe that in the Serpentina versus Chaz match on this channel that has 4 million hits, I do not believe in a million years that Chaz guy would beat Serpentina in a real fight, because she was a tough, tough lady. Last question from Eric Foster. Do I think Tully Blanchard, who I've done a shoot interview with here on the Hannibal TV, being in AEW foreshadows Tessa going to AEW? No, because he's picking up a payday. And Tessa Blanchard, who I guess, by the way, got engaged this week, which was news to me because I was so far out of the loop. I thought she was still dating Ricochet, but she's married or engaged to someone called Daga, who I think could be another wrestler. And I guess Ricochet goes out with someone else. I do have an interview with Ricochet on this channel, but no, for Tessa Blanchard going to AEW, she is going to go to whatever company offers her the best deal when her Impact contract expires. If WWE is going to offer her a massive deal, she's going to go there for sure. She's definitely about the money, just like her father was. And I love her. I actually respect both of them. Someone says Lady Yasmin should stick with the indies right now. Indies are doing well. The pay in indie wrestling, unless you're an ex-WWE star, sucks, okay? Or maybe you're an MLW star or a Ring of Honor star, and you can make whatever it is. I don't know how much they make. Let's say $500 a match, American. On average, let's just say that. I'm only going to guess, an educated guess. Then, yeah, it's all right. But if you're a low-level indie guy, you're not making much. That's just the way it is, because there isn't money on the independent circuits. Most independent circuits just break even. So anyone that can sign to a company and make use of all these companies that are around right now should do it, in my opinion, because these companies aren't going to be around forever. The market's going to get oversaturated, in my opinion. So thank you for all the comments on here. There are some haters on here, which is funny. Sprinter 3, I'll even say one from the haters, even though another guy says love all my interviews, says I should learn to work, bro. I think that's a line from Lanny Poffo telling that to me, who I might actually cross paths with Lanny Poffo this weekend in Philadelphia, where I have to leave early in the morning to go there. So I'm checking out. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.